You want to be a business owner? There's nothing in this world that makes me pissed than chargebacks. Let's get into that. Here we go. So a lot of you might not realize chargebacks are a thing. And what that means is you can do a bunch of work for a client. They can choose to all of a sudden say, I don't really like the work. I'm going to do a chargeback. And then I have to go and prove to the banks, right, or the credit card companies that we did the work, we're owed this money, that our contract is legit, and it takes a ton of time. So we had a client, just to give you background, we had a client, we had him for 3 months. We have a monthly retainer, okay? So around, let's say, I think it was like August 13th or 14th, somewhere around there, he decides that he's gonna cancel his equity crowdfunding campaign and move to a Reg D. I said, that's okay. We do the same thing. I just have to change the call to action links. I just have to, I just got to move what we're sending to, target a little bit of a different audience, but it's not a whole redo. I write him that. I don't get any responses. August 15th comes around. We have his invoices on a reoccurring billing, right? You get charged. We also have a contract that he signs that states you got to give me a 2-week notice. I am incredibly flexible, but you got to give me a notice that you aren't continuing the contract. So we don't get that. I don't get that. My finance manager doesn't get that. My wife, who was the project manager, she doesn't, no communication. We get a message around August 18th of, hey, I want to suspend the marketing because I got to get this Reg D figured out. Okay, well, we just charged you. Like, what do you mean suspend it? I don't have a suspend marketing. There's always something to be doing, right? There's no such thing as like I can still get some interest. You can still take calls. You can still have meetings. You can still do work. That's what we do. We build out a fundraising CRM system. So, I write back and I'm like, I appreciate that, but like we have a month to month. This is our deliverables. This is what we do. You got to give me a 2-week notice to cancel our contract. So what does this guy do? He does a chargeback. So what does that do in my world? Well, that pulls his retainer amount out of my bank. So that means that right now, we lose out on that retainer payment. So I did my payroll on the 15th and the 1st, right? Like, I now have to take that burden. And now what I have to do is this. I get the wonderful gift of having to go into my Stripe account. I have to submit all this evidence. I have to go and write a bunch of communication. I have to wait. I mean, it might take 60 to 90 days, right? I got to wait for a bank review. Hopefully this gets settled, and hopefully that money then comes back into my account. So I'm off it. You can see I just did all this stuff. Now, what you can imagine is tough is we have a lot of communication, right? So we use a tool like Basecamp, right? So client, we have the chat messages back and forth. We have back and forth on deliverables. So we have all of this communication, and somehow I have to then get that communication to a complete stranger who works at a bank. Now, I'm going to give you another little fun fact. American Express is who I'm going to be fighting in this, because the client paid with an American Express card. They give their cardholders up to 18 months to do a chargeback. So I used to not take American Express, but at some point, if you're hungry enough, you're like, man, I got to eat what I got to eat, right? So if somebody wants to pay with American Express, I'm going to take it, right? And I'm just going to gamble. But in the past, I did not. And reason is because American Express never, ever goes against their clients, even if their clients are 100% wrong. Even though if I've got a contract, they've signed it, I got all my ducks in a row here, right? I am pretty good at this stuff, right? Just in terms of making sure that everything's documented, sales calls, transcribed, emails, my team members do a good job. We have everything, right? We're not in the wrong, flat out. But I've got to now jump through these hoops because this guy just being a douchebag. So I bring this all up because, this is what is next to impossible to navigate in this space. And I don't understand chargebacks. I don't get it. If you ate the steak, how can you come back a month later, 18 months later and say, I don't really like that steak. I don't really like that steak. It is impossible for business owners. So if there's something that I would love to see on the books, some regulations around this, because it's absolute bull. You know what I'm talking about. And it's impossible. And now I get to sit and wait. And maybe I get my money back. Maybe I don't. I'm using a new company called ChargeFlow to do it, right? So, and oh, mind you, ChargeFlow is going to take 25% of this. So, and now they're going to go and supposedly fight the banks, and they have an 80% success rate. still 20%. And I almost guarantee, because it's American Express, I won't win this. So I probably won't win this, even though I've got everything buttoned up. I did the deliverables. I did the work. You signed the contract. You ate the steak. I did it all. I did everything I was supposed to do. Probably won't get that money back. And even if I do, it'll be 90 days from now. Minimum 90 days from now. Oh, and you know the other thing it does is it puts because of this, it then dings the credit card processor, Stripe. So now, because this mother did what he did here, now I've got it. Now Stripe has me on a high risk, like, oh, you're in a risky business, which Stripe ain't wrong. I'm kind of in a risky business here, right? So now I have to keep 25% in the kitty in Stripe. Every invoice that comes in, 25% is going to have to stay in Stripe to cover potential chargebacks in the future. So when you are working with an agency or you're working with a business, you have a responsibility as well to have your shit together, flat out. I didn't change platforms. I didn't get into fundraising without knowing what I'm doing. I do my part. Now, mind you, this guy, he got a free podcast from me. He got a free full feature article. So some of you have paid me for that. This guy got it for free because I was like, yeah, I like this guy. I like this guy. I'm in. And when I work with a client, I'm anticipating working with them for a year. Not this guy who in, 40 some days, 45 days, 50 days is like, oh, I'm going to do something else. That's not what I signed up for. So it's a two-way street. Longer video, very, very frustrating day here. I just submitted all this information. It now goes into the banking world. We'll see. Wish me luck. Later.